Okay, guys, well, welcome to week 1 Wednesday. This is your warm-up block, so go ahead and pause the video to go ahead and get that. All right, so today we're going to continue talking about I can divide polynomials using long division and synthetic division. So we're still at the skill 1 today. This is week 1 Wednesday, so we're going to start working on this. Also today I'm going to have you guys do a little bit of practice on Math Excel. So I'm going to have you guys grab laptops and ensure that you guys can actually log on to it. And we're going to start off right over here on dividing polynomials. So in your guided notes, make sure you turn over to this. So let's start off with the first one. We'll start off with something simple, okay? So with this, you're going to be dividing, and it's just simple division where you have 3, 4, 6, 4 divided by 11, okay? So going back to like 3rd grade, you ask yourself, 11 times what is close to 34, but you don't go over it? It'll be 3. So 11 times 3 is 33. We're going to go ahead and subtract that. So then I have a 1, and what you're going to do is you're going to bring down that 6, okay? So 11 times what gives you 16, but remember, you cannot go over 16. It has to be 1, because 11 times 1 is 11. You get a 5, and you bring down the 4. So then 11 times what is close to 54, but you can't go over 54. So that would probably be 4. So 11 times 4 is 44. And then this right here, the 10, is your remainder. So first thing I want you to guys do is go ahead and label it. Can I have you wake up, please? Because I can't have you sleep in class. Make sure you're writing down the notes, okay? Keep in mind, you guys, you don't have to be good at math to pass this class, but if you show up and you don't do anything, the highest score you'll get is a 55%, and that's not passing. So just keep that in mind. So this right here is going to be your quotient. The quotient essentially is your answer, okay? This 11 is called the divisor, and then this 10 is called the remainder, okay? So if you're like, well, Callahan, what's my answer? Your answer is going to be 314 plus, and it has to be in a form of a fraction, so it'll be 11 over 10. So it's, I'm sorry, 10 over 11. So it's always the remainder over the divisor. And this right here is your answer, you guys. Like that. So now we're going to go ahead and apply this concept into long division. So the next part is how can you use long division to divide p of x by d of x? So write the polynomial p of x in terms of the quotient and the remainder. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and draw a long box like that. Keep in mind that the longer number generally always goes inside the box, and the smaller number usually goes on the outside of the box. And so I'm just going to go ahead and write x cubed plus 5x squared plus 6x plus 9 inside the box, and x plus 3 outside the box. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to ask ourselves, okay, what number times x cubed, or x times what gives me x cubed? Because it has to match the x cubed. Well, I'm going to put x squared because 2x and x gives me x cubed, okay? So then what you're going to do is you're going to distribute that x squared into that right there. So x times x squared is x cubed. 3 times x squared is 3x squared. And then remember, you're going to subtract it. right? And so if you subtract that, 5 minus 3x squared is a 2x squared, and you bring down your 6x like that. Okay, and so then from here, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at 2x squared. We want to cancel that one, right? So then x times what gives me 2x squared? It will be a 2 and an x. And once you have the 2 and x, you're going to multiply it back in again. So 2x times x is a 2x squared. And then 2x times 3 is a 6x. And once again, you're going to subtract them. So then what you see here is you're going to end up canceling and canceling. And then you're ending up with a 0, right? Bring down your 9. Guess what? That 9 is going to be your remainder. Okay, your quotient once again is right here on top, and the x plus 3 is your divisor. Hey there, do you have the guided notes for today? So, so just watch the video to get the warm-up block for the 3 questions today. So then your answer in this situation, you guys, is simply just going to be x squared plus 2x. That's your answer, plus, and then remember the remainder goes on top, divisor goes on the bottom, and this is your answer right here. All right, I'm gonna have you guys try this one on your own. And so we're gonna set it up. So you have the little bar right there. And remember, this goes on the inside. This part goes on the outside. And then you're just gonna simply put x cubed minus 6x squared plus 11x minus 6. And then x squared minus 4x plus 3. So give that a try on your own, and then we will go over it together. Let's go and take a look at this together, you guys. So first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna ask yourself, x squared times what gives me x cubed, because that's the first thing I want to cancel, right? So I'm going to put x. And once you have that, remember, you're going to take that x and then multiply into here. So you have x cubed minus 4x squared plus 3x. And then you're going to go ahead and subtract everything. So all the signs inside changes, okay? And by that, I mean this becomes a negative, that's a positive, that's a negative, right? And mentally, you can kind of like see that or visualize in your head. So then immediately you guys will know that the x cubed is canceled because that's minus now, right? So then you go negative 6x squared plus 4x squared is a negative 2x squared. Okay, so make sure you change the sign or else you will subtract incorrectly. 11 minus 3 or 11 minus 3x is going to give me an 8x, and then you bring down the negative 6. So then you ask yourself, okay, x squared times what? Give me negative 2x squared, and they have to match so you can cancel it. So that'll be a minus 2. and then you distribute it back into that parenthesis. So you get a negative 2x squared plus 8x minus 6. And when you minus it, remember, that becomes a positive, that becomes a negative, that 6 becomes a positive, and then when you subtract, what is your remainder? You should have a remainder of 0. So this is your remainder. Top is your quotient, and this is your divisor. So your answer here is going to be x minus 2. And that's it. You don't need to put anything else besides that because your remainder is 0. So there's no fractions, you guys. Okay. Does that make sense? All right, cool. And if you can do this, that's awesome because you'll be using this in college as well, especially when you continuing on with your algebra skills. All right, so let's go on to the next one. So is f of x, this times this, a factor the quadratic to f of x in factored form? Oh, so this is actually going back to the last example. So last example, it's saying, is this and this, if I multiply it together, is this going to give me the numbers on the inside of that, right? Well, let's give it a try. So if you're doing this, we will go ahead and create a little chart. So here's my chart. Okay, so 3 boxes on top, 3 boxes on the bottom. Okay, and so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and use this piece right here. We're gonna go ahead and take that green highlighted area and put x squared minus 4x plus 3 across because there's 3 of them. And then we're gonna take the piece right here in blue, and I'm gonna go ahead and there's only 2 of them, so I'm gonna put x and negative 2. And then all we're gonna do is we're gonna fill all the boxes, you guys. So just multiply it out. X and x squared is x cubed. X and negative 4x is negative 4x squared. X and 3 is 3x. You guys fill out the second 3 boxes. Give it a try. Okay, so then when you guys fill out the second part of this, you should have negative 2x squared, positive 8x, and then negative 6. Okay, so here's your first and last answer. It's always the upper left and bottom right corner. So your answer here is x cubed, I'm gonna put a little bit of space, minus 6. Okay, that's your first and last answer. And then your answers in the middle is gonna be these 2 diagonal like that. And then these 2 diagonals like that. So you just go across, okay? And so the yellow diagonal, you're gonna get a negative 6x squared. And then the green diagonal, you're gonna get 11x. And that right there is your answer, you guys. So the question is this a factor to the factored form? Well, is this the answer that you put inside that dividing box from the last example, it doesn't match? Let's take a look. X cubed minus 6x squared plus 11x minus 6. Is that the same? Yep, it's a factor. And that's your answer, and that's it. So this is a good way to check your answer. So if you're like, I don't know if I did my questions correct or not, what you can do, what you always can do, is always take the answer that you found right here, the quotient, time the divisor. Okay, so the quotient times the divisor. And then if it gives you the number inside the dividing bar, then you know your answer is correct. So we did that. We did x minus 2, which is the quotient, times x squared minus 4x plus 3. Oh, that's not yours, my dear. I think I already have the one from yesterday. Do you have the white packet with you? So make sure you hold on to this. You're welcome. And guess what? It does equal that yellow part, and so you know your answer is correct. All right, number 3, you guys. I'm gonna have you guys take a look at that and maybe underline the important information. All right, so Lauren wants to determine the length and height of her DVD stand. The function is this, okay? Represent the volume of DVD stand where the width is this right there. And so we want to find the height. So if the volume is length times width times height, and you have the volume, and you also have the width, and you want to find the height, well, wouldn't you just divide it by the width, or height equals volume divided by width, right? So then what do you guys think I'm going to do with these two numbers here? Are we going to add them, multiply them, divide them, or subtract them? Well, given the fact that there's a division bar, you're probably going to divide them. So let's go ahead and draw a division bar. And it's the same thing. I'm going to take that, plug it in here, take the divisor, put it right there, and then divide it. All right, so then what I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to put x cubed plus 14x squared plus 57x plus 72, and then x plus 3. All right, so at this point, we've done this several times now. You guys are probably like sick and tired of me explaining this over and over again. So remember, you have to match the first term, which is x cubed. So what do I put there to match it? I have to be an x squared. And then you distribute it like that. So you get x cubed plus 3x squared. All right, so then I'm gonna go ahead and subtract this, you guys. And so when I subtract this, keep in mind that becomes a negative, that becomes a negative. So when you're subtracting it, you can see that x cubed cancels, right? It's gone. But then 14 minus 3 gives me an 11x squared. I'm gonna bring down that 57x. And then ask myself, okay, 11, or how do I get 11x squared with the x right there? You will have to put 11 and then you're missing one more x, okay? And then I'm going to multiply it back into the divisor again, which gives me 11x squared plus 3 times 11 is 33x. And then remember, you're going to have to subtract it. So change the sign to a minus, minus, so that 11x squared cancels. And you see with every single step, you're canceling something, right? And you want to do that. So that way, eventually you just get one number at the end. So 57 minus 33 is going to give you a 24x, and then you're going to bring down that 72. So x times what gives me a 24x? I need a 24. And again, then take that 24, multiply it into the divisor. So that's a 24x. 24 times 3, you have a calculator in front of you, so you can use that. But if you don't have a calculator, you'll just go ahead and multiply. And guess what? That gives me a perfect 72. And then when I subtract it, that becomes a negative. 72 becomes a negative. They both cancel. So you have a big fat 0 as your remainder. So then here we are. What is your answer? What is going to be the not width? What is going to be the height of your DVD stand? I don't even think anybody uses DVDs now. Do you guys still use DVD? I think everybody else use like online platforms of like, like Hulu, Netflix, and HBO Plus or something. Does anybody still have DVDs at home? You guys try selling them? I'm like, does anybody even buy them anymore? I have like an entire freaking closet full of DVDs, and I'm like, I don't think I've ever watched them once in like the last 3 years. So then your height of your DVD stand is just going to be x squared plus 11x plus 24. And I know you're like, well, what's my answer? How tall is it? Well, I don't know, because unless I say x is some number and then I plug it in, that is your answer for now. All right, let's go ahead and move on over. Okay, so let's go on to number 4, okay? When dividing polynomials p of x by polynomial d of x, the remainder is r of x. The remainder can also be written as r of x times d of x. Can you use the degree of r of x and d of x to determine are you finished dividing? So for number 4, use the polynomial long division, dividing this by this. How can you use multiplication to check your answer? Okay, so looking at this part right here, you're looking at it and you're like, okay, well, these two look like they're about the same length. So when I go ahead and draw this, which one goes inside? Well, they both have like two terms, right? They're both binomials. It's always going to be the highest degree or the highest exponent. So do you see how this one is 8x cubed? That's the highest number, 3. And this one is just 2x. So 8x cubed will be going inside in there. But then also, do you notice how there's a bunch of stuff missing? Like there's a 27, but where is the x squared and where is the x? So because you have those missing, you can't just write it out as is. You have to write down zeros for them like that. Okay, so be very careful with questions like this on your quizzes and tests. And then this 2x plus 3 will just be your divisor. So we'll just put it out here. And this will be our last example, you guys. Hey. Okay, you guys, so we'll go ahead and continue with this. And Tomas, do you mind showing them where this is? It's actually in the white packet if they just turn over to the page right there. Okay, so looking at this part right here, we're going to go ahead and divide it. Okay, so then you're going to ask yourself, okay, our goal is to cancel the 8x squared or cubed. How do I make that 2x times what? Give me an 8x cubed. There's 1x, so I need 2 more x's, right? And then 2 times what gives me 8? It's going to be a 4. So that's how you determine that. And then you're going to take this and multiply it inside here. So then we have 8x cubed plus 12x squared. And then as you guys know, you're going to go ahead and subtract it. So when you subtract this, that becomes a negative. That becomes a negative. Thank you, Tomas. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. And so then the 8x squared cubed cancels, and then have 0 minus 12, which is a negative 12x squared. But then you need to bring down that 0x. And then you ask yourself, okay, so then 2x times what gives me a negative 12x squared. So that's going to be a negative 6. And you're missing 1x. And you're going to multiply it again. And so 2x times negative 6x is a negative 12x squared. 3 times negative 6 is a negative 18x. And we're going to go ahead and subtract them. So remember, when you subtract that, you're going to have opposite signs. Okay, so then that becomes a positive, that becomes a positive. So then guess what? Your 12x squared cancels, which is exactly what you want. You want to cancel every single time, okay? But 0 plus 18x is a positive 18x. Be very careful with the negative signs, okay? And then you bring down the 27. We're almost there, you guys. One more to go. So then you guys ask yourself, okay, so then 12x times what gives me 18x? I'm going to put down a 9. Distribute the 9, you get an 18x. 3 times 7 is 27. Ta-da! And then guess what? Everything cancels, right? Because when you subtract it, you have a negative 18x, a negative 27. So that cancels. And you're left with a remainder of 0. So then you're like, okay, we did all of that work. What is my answer? Your answer is going to be the quotient, which is the number on top, and that's 4x squared minus 6x plus 9. That is your answer. If you're like, I don't know if my answer is correct, is there a way for me to check it? Yes, there is. You simply take the quotient and you times the divisor. So your quotient here is this right here in the orange. If you multiply it by that part in the orange, which is a divisor, it should give you the yellow part right there. And if you do get that, then that is the correct answer. Okay, you guys. So next, what I'm going to have you guys do is this right here. So everybody come on up and grab the piece of paper, the white piece of paper right here. So what do I do when I make a mistake? So what I want you guys to do is just think about and come up with several different scenarios of ideas, and you guys can kind of like bubble this out if you would like. So you can do something like just draw a line and then write out your answers on the lines. Go ahead and just draw some lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I want 10 lines. There we go. Let's do 10 lines. So 10 lines. And ladies, you can just watch, okay? You don't have to do this part right here. Okay, so what is one thing that you do when you make a mistake? One thing I would do, and you don't need to copy this part down because you're going to do your own, is Dr. C will reflect on mistake and fix it for next time. Okay, that's what I would do. So then what I want you guys to do is you fill out your 10 on what you will be doing when you make a mistake. And this is your exit ticket for today. So there are 10 of them. So you'll be turning that in before you guys leave today. Okay.